Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tough Arena State of the Game stream. This is the September 2025 edition. Let's try and make these intros a little less canned. Today I'm going to tell you all about the state of the game. We've got one in particular, a very exciting announcement, something about a secret project that Chad has been speculating about for a couple months. But otherwise, we'll be keeping this one pretty short as we stay focused on stuff. Lots of stuff. Let's just jump into this stuff. So past, I attended a few conventions and worked a few conventions. Most of this was either personal or Scramble Heart City related, but something I think relevant to the Tough Arena audience, I gave a panel at Anime NYC called How to Design a Fighting Game. I've given this a few times before. There's one stream recording from an online lecture I gave a year ago, but this is the latest and greatest version. I'm very proud of it, and we uploaded the crowd recording to the Scramble Heart YouTube channel. So look up How to Design a Fighting Game on YouTube if you want to watch me talk about fighting games for an hour. That's up there now, and I'm very proud of it. Other than that, it was just secret project stuff. So what's the present? Still a couple of character stuff I'm considering. This is still, on the docket, but lower priority than the secret project, but I'm just going to leave this here until I either change my mind or address them. And future. Secret project? Secret project? Okay. So the secret project is, drum roll, hopefully that doesn't mess up the mic, arcade mode. Arcade mode and modding V2. So, what does that mean? Arcade mode, as I've described many times, will be a unique little short story mode for each character where they progress through a few scripted battles and then fight a unique boss at the end. With a bunch of new animations that I'm not showing yet, but this is very close. And Mod V2. And now is the point where I have to bring up the fact that this was not me. I didn't do any of this. Secret Project was zero work for me because this was brought to you by wonderful community members Clove, Dabsir, and Kerbokek. I always call them Dab. Why did I call them Dabsir that time? Clove, Dab, and Kerbo. We will talk more about the project and its genesis and all that stuff when it's out. But the three of them have been working hard on it for a couple of months now, and I didn't want to say anything. We didn't say anything for the first couple of months, and then as it was starting to look better and they were showing me some progress updates, I started calling it the secret project. And now that we're very close to release, I think we can announce it. So I am immensely grateful to them. I've been so busy with the new game and this new career I have, essentially. It's been difficult to find the time to go back to Tough Love and give it the care and attention it needs. And I've been blown away by the work they've done so far. And I'm very, very grateful. And I'm very excited to share it all with you pretty soon. So, tentative, we don't have any dates on here because plans change. And it doesn't help that I want to be around for the launch so I can, push fixes and help with any bugs. And I'm out of town a lot right now. I'm about to go to Japan for 2 weeks. So, even though we maybe could have rushed it out this month, we decided not to force it and push something too buggy. And we should be launching in October. That will be sort of a V1. It may not be complete. For example, I think this is fair to say, I want all the routes to have unique bosses. They may not have unique bosses yet. We may still have some reused bosses. But we will get it out there, we'll get some feedback, we'll get some play testing, and see how people like it. And then with that done, I want to take the game out of early access probably about a month later. And I say that as a notable event because when you change your game on Steam from early access to not early access, it brings a bunch of attention to it. it's like one of your 3 times to blow up in the algorithm. So I want to make sure that we do like a fresh pass on Steam, upload all new screenshots and trailers, and put it in the best state possible before we, you know, kind of re-release it and have this chance to share things. Clove says, is it okay if I share a bit of info about modding V2? Absolutely. I'll throw this up on screen, and Clove, feel free to type in chat. I don't have Discord set up right now, and we can definitely, if you want to join the call, we can set that up for the proper like release stream. But important features you may see here is better type documentation, better output that actually tells you what line it broke on, and autocomplete. Amazing stuff. And the arcade mode is configurable in the mod files. So modded characters will eventually be able to have stories of their own. And so originally I just asked, hey guys, can you help me finish story mode? And they were like, well, we want to improve the mod editor and use that to make the story mode. And they've done immense work. The mod editor were, I don't know if it still does, but at least for like 3 years it said like modding whip, because it was an experiment that I rushed in like 1 week, I think when I was like recovering from mono, just to see if it was possible. And then it got little fixes and it got little improvements, but it never got like a fresh overhaul. I always felt like I was putting out other fires. So they were able to go in and do it justice and make the developer UX just so much better. So yeah, hopefully I got that all correct, Clove. Please correct me if wrong. Also, it loads significantly faster. That's cool. Yes, they can speak to it. Clove, again, Clove, Dav, and Kerbo can speak more to it. I guess now that their names are out there, if you want to volunteer to help test this, you can reach out to them. It is up to their discretion and how much time they have, whether or not you can, because they already have a few testers, I know. I'm trying to give them a lot of latitude and a lot of agency on this, because they're doing amazing work. So we just wanted to make sure it was close enough to real before announcing it, and I feel comfortable announcing it now. It is very close to real. So, soon. And now we'll do the monthly survey. Oh, 4 more responses. Okay. I want to get to the Q&A, and so I'm going to be going through this one particularly fast. It'll all be up on screen, but I won't read it all out loud this time. If you're curious how I process these, please watch any of the last 30 State of the Game VODs. Fun, easy, good, 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 good. Right, that's on the slides. So this was a change we made recently, and I've gotten some pushback on it, so I've heard that. Rice is still below average strength. That's not desirable, but at least fun. The channel, Paul, I assume that means the Rice channel. I have not checked the Rice channel in a while. Now I'm scared too. I like dive kick being +1 as a more effective neutral tool, making it easier to get the meaty spacing, but might be frustrating in close range. It is at least only +1 on hit, right? I think it's still... It's strong, but it's definitely... This was a concern. I'm taking a long time to say, because I'm still kind of jet lagged. This was a concern. My hope is that it's not super spammable in the way that some other games dive kicks are, because you can't like jump back and dive kick. You can only jump forward. And a lot of characters have anti-airs that work against a lot of different timings. Not everyone, not all the time. But if they're just like jumping and dive kicking in your face, you have an answer that should I believe every character has at least one answer that would beat both a like point blank dive kick into another dive kick, or a point blank dive kick into a jump. So it's definitely stronger, and it is a stronger approach tool, and I like that because I want Rice to have that sort of, keep you out, rush you down, mix, or variety, or option, I should say. So I'll keep an eye on this. Strong fun. I don't understand the question. Strong fun. Easier to space, but still easy to whiff punish. A bit more pushback? So it's easier to space, but easy to whiff punish? I'm not sure if I understand. If we gave Chop less pushback, then it would be easier to confirm it into the light on hit. And be the same difficulty to whiff punish. So maybe I'm misunderstanding, or maybe there's a typo. If you want to try and clarify, if you filled this out and you want to try and clarify it during Q&A, please do so. No. Onion is strong and fun. Range, Paul, I don't understand. Garlic is strong and fun. Backward special, something like a defensive step back kick. We cannot get any new animation, and the backlip already goes into like a few. You can think of it as like a kind of stance. So you can get something like this with backlip into heavy. Dash roundhouse, increased pushback on block. No, if you do not space this, this is very punishable by design. Dash trip, increased pushback on block. Interesting. I don't know if we have a different way. I don't know if TLA has a way to do different pushback for block versus hit. Because I wouldn't want to change it on hit. I could see the argument to do it on block so that it's harder. It's less scary as a frame trap. I will add that to the considering. Okay. What about TLA appealed? Aesthetics, free browser, modded, had good netcode, fun free, fun little game, I can play whenever. Wonderful. What keeps you playing? Amy's art. Garlic is amazing. Amy went out on a high note. That's very kind. Modding. Thank you very much. Fun game with community. Modding. And looking forward to Secret Project, Halloween. Yes. Oh shoot, I don't have that in the future tab. We will have a Halloween tournament. I think the planned date is... where do I have this written down? I think we're tentatively planning October 10th. So we'll have a state of the game before that, and I'll make sure to announce it and ping people in the Discord. But it'll be on the earlier side of October. I don't know who this is. Oh yeah, if you want to start playing in tournaments, Shiggy Beats runs a weekly, and then we have an official tournament once every 3 months that Shiggy also runs. Secret Project. Well, now you all know. A sad but fun story. We all have these. Thank you. Why do you give us follow in the modding request channel? Sorry. If they're interested, I have given Clove and Dab and Kerbo permission to have development contributions beyond arcade mode. So maybe they could add some modding requests. I'm gonna dump this on them. Saying let's just rapid cancel with 6S instead of 6T. So that used to be the RC input. I was very excited to move it to 6T because it removed the issue of your excuse me, meats in particular, because their jump is both a neutral tool and a defensive anti-air tool and a combo tool. I would often have situations, or I'd especially observe and playtest situations, where people were like doing heavy combos, HH, and then they're trying to, buffer jump, and they'd accidentally RC. So we moved it over to throw, specifically to be like, okay, this is a button that you're not pressing during a combo, or pressing during a pressure sequence, usually. There could be a situation where you're trying to tick throw and maybe you accidentally RC, but also none of the lights are RCable, so your normal tick setup, your most common tick setup probably won't have that interaction. So no, and that's why. Duplicate response. Steam app of TLA is really slow to load and doesn't allow for isn't compatible with Steam recording. Ooh, a fix would be appreciated. So the Steam app is in a bit of a rough state. It's a very simple Electron wrapper around the game. For the loading, I think that has to do with how I'm deploying it, and I might be able to do that better now because I've learned some stuff from Scramble Heart that I could potentially take back. Right? In normal games, if you look in their folder, it's like, a bunch of files and a small exe, whereas TLA is one giant exe. And this was because I was having issues when I was trying to distribute it as a, let's just say, normal program. There also are benefits to having the standalone file in terms of portability, because the Steam app is very similar to the downloadable version. And I was just having issues with doing it the other way, and I think that's part of why it needs to unpack the entire, because the app is both kind of also like a compressing zip file, so it needs to unpack the entire thing before it can start. So that might be fixed if we go back and do that change. This is all stuff that I would definitely be revisiting in early November leading up to launch. I might also, in a similar vein, I might take down the free download site and instead just add a free version on Steam. Because this would be a great place to test that, because I want to do that for Scramble Heart. Rather than having this alternate distribution method that I have to maintain and people have to discover, you can put free games on Steam, right? So, and that also then lets me use Steam's updater, because the Tuffle of Arena auto updater built into the desktop version sucks butt. A lot of stuff sucks butt, because I made this game very quickly and very roughly. And I'm very glad that you all played it and you all like it as much as you do. I'm very proud of it, because I solved a lot of problems, but not very well. So, hopefully this will get better. I don't know if that will fix the Steam recording thing. I'm kind of skeptical. A lot of this has to do with just the game doesn't have bindings the way you normally do. It doesn't have access to the Steam SDK, and that might be out of scope for me to add. I don't know if I'll have that in time for the release. But some parts of the experience will definitely improve. No reason to be scared. All right, cool. Oh, Scramble Heart. So, brief Scramble Heart City update. We were at Anime NYC/Play NYC. Recently, it's been so back to back. I think I did I think it was this, and then PAX West, and then Rose City. So we ran an event here. This is where I gave the talk. It went very well. We gave out another branded leverless. It made me realize that I don't like stamping things. But the people were very cool. I'll say our learnings from this time, usually we only have one booth and we only have room for 2 setups. Lately, because we've noticed the demand is there, people like our game and they want to play it. at these events. Here, I paid more to have access to 2 booths, and that let us have 3 setups. And it actually worked really naturally where we put these 2 as normal, just like, sit down with your friend, play a game, cycle out after a game, or maybe after a best of 3, depending on traffic. Just always rotating. And then 1, like, winner stays on cabinet style setup, where you can see our, later tournament champion right here holding down the setup for quite a while. That was really cool. That was fun. And I want to have, especially if I have 3 setups, I think we can afford to do that. So solid event. I'm going to keep doing it because it's in my backyard. But very, very tiring. Very tiring. Lots of people. We also ran our second monthly playtest. The next one is in 3 days, this Friday. We have been working on we started with a new stage for book. You might have seen it in the last playtest. We're actually splitting that idea into 2 different stages, because I think it wound up a little cluttered and out of focus. We had this thing that was both like a library and also this cool waterfall level, and we weren't doing justice to either vision. So now we split it up. I think we'll have the waterfall level ready this weekend, and then the sort of like books study level will come out later. Onyx has been doing great cleaning up the art for Gain and Book, and Savvy's been polishing some of those drawings to unblock them. And I'm happy to report I did a little quick test with, I don't know if I should name drop him, but with a top player who's been active in these playtests and won one of our tournaments. They just, like a couple hours ago, helped me do a little debug, and they said the input system is feeling way better. Turns out there's a lot more edge cases when you have a lot more buttons and command inputs and possibilities, and taking the Tough Love Arena input system and porting it over was not sufficient, so I had to do some pretty substantial rewrites. But I'm pretty confident. I understand why the old one didn't work. I was just a little short-sighted, and I'm really excited to get this in people's hands this weekend and see if we can remove all the complaints we've had, which are not common. They're not frequent, but people will sometimes raise concerns of like, oh, the wrong move came out or the wrong super came out. That should all be resolved now. No, Clove, not the exact string-based system. I mean more of how it was buffering things. We can unpack that now during the Q&A. So let me switch over to bigger view and nerd out about that question a little bit. So in Tough Love Arena, the way we do inputs and buffering is the way I have 5-frame input buffer is every time you press an input that's not a direction, so left and right are special cased, but anytime you press any of the other 4 buttons, it then will fire that on the next 5 frames, creating the illusion of a buffer. Or, depends on how you define a buffer, that's what it's doing. So if you pressed it early, if you pressed it 3 frames early because you were still on the ground, then it's still going to see that press because it presses for you 5 frames in a row. And then but it doesn't do that for directions, because that would feel very unresponsive if you're walking backwards and you let go of back, and then you're still walking back. And then there's the situation with hit stop. So in specific situations, I think it's in Tough Love Arena, it might just be hit stop. While you're in hit stop, you press the button and you get that 5 frames of buffer, but the buffer basically won't decrease. It doesn't tick down every frame if you're in hit stop. So this way, when you land heavy and you have a nice medium amount of hit stop, before I thought to add this, you would if you tried to press the button too early, this is I think right before launch we fixed it, or it might have been right after launch. I think when J.M. Crofts played the game, in January 2021, he mentioned the cancels feel weird. And I think this was the issue. It wasn't buffering during hit stop. So if you were too early with the cancel, it wouldn't come out. So, yes, the buffer essentially freezes during hit stop and doesn't decrement. I was doing the same thing in Scramble Heart, and it was causing problems. Part of that also has to do with Kara cancels. So, how in the weeds am I going to get into this? Kara canceling is the fact that as soon as you have a button as soon as you have any situation where a user needs to press two buttons at the same time to create a desired effect, you have to handle the fact that due to how your inputs are parsed and just human interaction, they may not actually get hit on the exact same frame. So you support Kara cancels, which are that, hey, you pressed let's say you're Street Fighter 4. You pressed light punch. I'm going to start doing light punch right away. There's no input delay. But if I then see you press light kick on the next frame, then I can probably think backwards and be like, you were probably trying to press light punch and light kick to do a throw. So you'll see one frame of jab, and then you'll see throw. Tough Arena has this for directionality. We don't have anything that requires you pressing multiple buttons at the same time, but I think I can demonstrate this. Oh, right, I have to pick my characters. So, and now I've got this handy new frame counter. So if I press heavy, or no, we should pick someone. Oh, this works with specials. So Book has a neutral special and a back special, which are different moves. Lemon versus parry. If I press lemon, nope, that's the wrong button. If I press lemon, you can see we're on frame 0, index is 0. It's the first frame of lemon. And then I press left. He Kara cancels into the parry. And I think the window is 2. So I could do that. Wrong one. I think I can do it up to here. But as soon as I get to frame 2, now this is too late. Now if I hold back, the Kara cancel doesn't happen. That's Kara cancels. It should be invisible to the user. It just helps fuzzy inputs just come out as intentional. And some games have had possibilities where you can exploit this. Usually if one move moves forward on the first frame, a significant amount, then you could intentionally Kara cancel that into a different move. So, famous example, in a lot of Street Fighters, Ken has like a forward medium kick that he steps forward with. And in that game, throw is seen as, in multiple of these games, throw is seen as like a higher priority button. So if you do medium kick, forward medium kick, and then within the next 2 frames or so, do throw, it'll think, oh, he was pressing multiple buttons and trying to get to the throw input. And so you'll go into throw after getting that little boost. And sometimes designers have leaned into this. See all of the recent balance madness around Potemkin 6K for the last year. And I knew consciously that this could be dangerous. You could also do this in Street Fighter 4. You could do it with like armor cancels, or a similar thing. So any invul moves are on a direction. Because you'll notice I can go from lemon to jump, but I can't go from like, I'm going to parry and then let go of left. And left isn't buffered. Directions aren't buffered. So right now my input is neutral special if I step again. But it doesn't Kara cancel to neutral. Right? Why would it? So in Tough Love Arena, because the only real use case for 2 buttons is direction and button, you can only Kara cancel. I added a logic where you can only Kara cancel to a more specific input. And I also added conditions that like don't let you jump inputs in the same way that like Street Fighter 4 had a, and a lot of these games have just like a priority system and you can always Kara cancel like up the chain. You cannot Kara cancel from a light into a heavy. It just doesn't work. It only does it in the situation I expect people to brush up against, which is direction and button. I tried to port that to Scramble Heart. This had 2 problems. Problem number 1, that's a game where you actually often are canceling from like down medium to stand medium. And if you accidentally held down a little too long and you didn't let go of it before pressing stand medium, it wouldn't come out. Or potentially vice versa. And it's more complicated than that as far as what the actual bug was that was really exacerbating it. But that was like one of many situations. That game is a lot more multiple inputs. 2 buttons to throw, 2 buttons to dash, 2 buttons to super. In combination with then directions. Issue number 2 was the hit stop thing. Because in Temple of Arena, when you experience hit stop, it's usually your entire character is in hit stop. Everything that you as a player are doing is in hit stop. The only attacks that don't cause hit stop right now are projectiles, like most games. But you can think of it then as like, oh, when this guy is in hit stop and I'm sending inputs, I'm trying to send inputs to Beef. So I'll wait for Beef to get out of hit stop. In Scramble Art City, there are 6 characters, and some of them can be in hit stop and some of them are not in hit stop. And that can cause gaps. I had the logic such that it would do the same thing where like it didn't decrement the buffer during hit stop. It would just like skip the entire cancel step, which would normally like look for cancels and decrement the buffer. It would just ignore it during hit stop. This caused a bug in the last playtest where Robot had an assist, the dash punch. And dash punch is a move. I think I can pull this up on stream. Ooh, that's not running. Right, because I did the thing. Shoot. 1 second. And then, sorry, we'll get to questions. I've been monologuing about this for like 15 minutes. But I'm very excited to talk about it because it's been very frustrating. And this is what I've been working on in all my like random spare moments. In my dev. For the last week, I've been fixing this issue. Robot had a funny bug where his dash punch is a holding move. And the way that works is the cancel is on the absence of the hold. So logically, this is checking every frame. If I'm not holding special anymore, then cancel into the rush. Otherwise, keep holding. It's not like canceling into hold by holding it, it's just checking for the negative. And as an assist, this usually worked fine because the assists, when I'm checking their cancels, they don't see the inputs. So this still allows them to do essentially auto combos, or auto cancels where, one thing always has a follow-up. In Temple of Arena, we have this all the time with like meat, jump attack, or a lot of the parries. So this guy would come in, he would do his pause, and then because he's not holding anything, at the first available frame, he would go into the rush punch. Cool. The problem was I was skipping the cancel check for the entire player if the point character wasn't hit stop. So if you landed a hit, a particularly big hit, at the same time that you called assist, and this happened a lot with Rosie and her like Helmbreaker special that would bring you to the ground and have a particularly large amount of hit stop, and you'd normally like call an assist with it to try and combo. His surprisingly brief cancel window, when it would check for there not to be a hold, would just get skipped entirely, and then he would get stuck in the holding animation forever until you hit him. That's just one example of there is any specific hit stop. The problem was that the cancel checking was on a player level. And if the point was in hit stop, it was skipping the cancel checks for the entire player. So lots of little things like that have now been fixed. But the other issue was the plan of, during hit stop, ignoring the buffer and just maintaining the buffer. And that was a huge problem. And I've already been talking about this for too long, so I don't think I'll get super into the weeds right now and explain it, but the short answer is the solution is now, instead of buffering inputs for a very long time during hit stop or super flash or any other situation, instead I'm constantly checking for cancels, and then I'm buffering the cancels. So during hit stop, your valid input, your valid cancel off this would be like standing heavy punch. So right now, if I press heavy punch, that doesn't actually last until the end of hit stop, but it dials in the cancel right away, and the cancel basically sits on deck waiting for hit stop to end, and then fires. And this has helped fix a lot of issues. But it had its own edge cases of like, okay, do you have to like Kara cancel these like pending cancels? But all in all, it's created a situation where now I can do a standing and Kara into crouching, or I could do a crouching and Kara into standing. Question answered. So, if you have any other questions, please post them now. I'm not going to scroll back up through chat, and I'd be happy to answer. Best example is Hopkick because of... Ooh. Let me check that. When can you expect arcade mode out? As the slide says, tentative launch next month. And that's all I can say for now. So I could do hop, hop, and then jump. So yeah, I could do a little scoot back into my jump. Or I could do a little scoot back into my parry. Yeah. God plus hop kick Kara parry. Is there a real strategic use case for this? No, table, please repost. It just looks cool. It does look cool. I can see the jump one being useful for timing and like micro spacing. Did you figure out the Rosie 2S lag? Oh, so figure out. I know what's causing the lag. It's the fact that there's a lot of fireballs. And specifically that's allocating a lot of memory and then deallocating a lot of memory. And that's addressable eventually. Like that. I've got something covering up my screen. The draw takes a little bit longer, but it's really just the logic. Because unfortunately these all have hurt boxes. Because you can interact with them. That could be one easy way to fix this, is I can just remove all the hurt boxes. No, I've made some general like optimizations and improvements to collision checking and a few other areas to make them generally run faster. But right now this will definitely tax certain machines. So, known issue. Anything else? What happened in the survey? You can check the VOD after. don't think it's interesting in the VOD for me to say it twice. And it will be up shortly. Cool. So I think we will call it a night. I will actually, as I mentioned a little bit in the pre-stream chat, I will shut down for a brief moment. I will be back on to do a brief dev stream for Scramble Hard City, so stick around. If you're watching this on YouTube, follow my Twitch. Thoughts on 2XKO? I'm excited for it. I had more mixed feelings when I played the first Alpha Lab, but then I played it at EVO, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I would like to try Tokon, but I was traveling, and I don't think I even bothered applying for the beta, because I knew I wouldn't be able to play. So, I think I'm in the new 2XKO beta automatically, but I would be playing it on PlayStation, which I don't think is... I think it's just starting PC only. So, I'll play it when it's easier to play and when I'm traveling less. This last 3 months have just been a little brutal on my life. But in a way that I'm, is an immense privilege, and I'm very grateful to be able to do this. I gotta say this as we sort of wrap up. I was at PAX West attending, and when I'm boothing these things, especially bigger events like PAX, like Anime NYC, it's so hard to get away from the booth. There's just so many people all the time, and I want to go, and you want to see other games, and you want to, enjoy the convention yourself, but you can't. There's work to be done. So it's a fun treat when I get to just wander around. I went and I talked to the junk food people at length, and we might do some sort of cross promo. Let me switch camera. They hooked me up with some of the swirls, which are these goofy mix boxes with a trackball. It's actually really fun you can flick this up as if it's like a down, an up button. Or I was in training room with, I think, Zangief, and I was doing 360s on this. Anyways, so had the chance to have random conversations like that, but I was really grateful and excited when there were a handful of people where I would talk to them. And I'd be like, oh, cool game. And then I'd want to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, and I want to ask, who's your publisher? What are the terms like? How are you liking this event? How much did they charge you for this space? Stuff that I need to know as a indie developer. And if you have a random stranger come up and ask you those questions, that could be a little invasive, and I'm aware of that. So I try to usually qualify and be for perspective, I was just boothing an event last weekend. I was just too tired to do back-to-back. Real answer, I didn't want to pay $2,500 for a PAX 10x10 booth. And so I'll, name drop. Oh yeah, I've made a game before, and I'm thinking about coming back next year. What can you tell me about how the event's running for you? And they'll ask, what game did you make? And I'll say Tough Love Arena. And a surprising amount of people recognized it. Random people who were, this is a general gaming con, not an FGC con. And then instantly they get that glimmer of, recognition and respect. I went to this little, very casual after party at a bar on the last night and talked to a few different groups, and we do the usual, intros. What did you make? What are you working on? What's new with you? And one guy was a super fan, and he started really nerding out over it in a way that was very flattering. It was very sweet. So, again, I'm only here because of the core fans, because you all have kept the flame alive and kept me working on it, and kept less lately, but now we've got the new dream team. It's an immense opportunity I've had through Tough Love Arena. I never could have guessed my life would go this way. And every time I think of it, and I think of how grateful I am, I'm thinking of my gratitude towards Amy, who this game wouldn't exist without. This all started because I had always wanted to make a game, but didn't know what to do about art, and Amy was down to just do a lot of free art and make a game together. And then you guys. If people didn't play the game when it came out, it would have stopped there. I would have gone back to making websites for a living. And probably have more money. But it's been an honor and a privilege. And I'll say that, and I'll get mushy at the end of every stream because it's true. So on that note, thank you all so much. I'm going to run downstairs and get a snack. I'll be back in like 10 to 15 minutes. I promise I won't be longer than that. And we'll do some scrambling. So until next time. And just to reiterate, lots to look forward to in the next month. New arcade mode, new mod mode, Halloween tournament. All October. So stay tuned in the Discord and the usual channels. And I will see you all then. Good night.